and thank you for joining us. My name is CARINE MEYERE, and I'm the CCO of the Women in Technology Global Movement. And we are so proud that we were able to partner with Hussein Al-Mahmoudi to help him organize the first virtual MITT Summit in Sharjah. We have a very impressive panel this week or today with 5 people from all over the world. One of them is logging in from China, and he has been having some problems, but I'm sure that we will be able to fix that during the panelists. And the topic that we're going to be talking about today, I think, is very, very relevant because it's about how this pandemic has impacted our personal space and what positive things has technology brought us. Because I think we can all say that COVID-19 accelerated the reliance on online experiences for all of us. And it's impressive to see how collectively we've all adapted to digital learning, to digital working, and digital socializing. And how our relationship has actually changed to physical space. What have we gained and what have we actually lost? And what are we maybe missing and what can we actually still improve on? Let me please introduce to you 5 or 4 amazing panelists present. I first want to start with GALIT ARIEL, who I'm so honored because I met you at the end of May when you spoke at the first 24-hour virtual World Summit of the Women in Technology. You've also been a TEDx speaker, and you are known to be a futurist and a creative that explores the wild and imaginative side of immersive technologies and their impact on its cultures, behaviors, and interactions. You've also consulted numerous Fortune 500 companies, and your goal is to bridge the gap between digital, physical, and mental spaces to create tools and platforms that help people experience these worlds in new ways. And the word that comes to mind is augmented reality, and I'm sure that we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. And I'm so happy I have a woman on this opening panel because exactly 1 year ago, I visited the UAE and Sharjah in particular on invitation from Hussein Al-Mahmoudi. And I was there to actually prepare the first female leadership trip to the UAE from the Women in Technology around 2020. Well, we all know that that has been postponed to next year. But I do hope, GALIT, that you will be able to be part of that female leadership trip next year, because I think that you can show all these women that who will be on our trip a lot about that there are other ways to look at the world as well.
Exactly. Thanks for having me.
From Toronto. And I know it's early morning or very late for you.
Yes.
So the second guest I would like to introduce to you is Hugh Hyung-ok Choi from Seoul, Korea. Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Hugh, you are a technology strategist exploring emerging technologies in the borderless physical and digital world. Always living across the border of business and community, engineering and liberal arts, and idea and execution, you have a strong desire to find and connect the power of technologies to design the better future for good. Thank you so much, and I'm very much enjoying to get to know you better during this talk today.
Thank you.
Thirdly, I would like to introduce you Ser Guerreiro, I hope I'm speaking it correctly, who is tuning in from Lisbon, Portugal. And you're the Senior Director for Knowledge, Management and Innovation at the Turismo de Portugal. You have been responsible for statistics, business intelligence, sustainability, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And you're also responsible for the program Tourism 4.0. And you've integrated to foster innovation in the tourism sector involving more than 350 startups. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more about that. Fourthly, we have George HEDON, who is tuning in from Australia, Melbourne. We heard you have been in a second lockdown for quite some time now, so very happy that you have been tuning in to us. You are the founder and CEO of the world's leading creativity-infused business event, POSFest, and you just celebrated your 10th anniversary. And I understand that GALIT was one of the speakers at your POSFest this year. And under your leadership, POS Festival has attracted major brands, startups, agencies, corporates, government departments, and hosted over 700 international local speakers supporting the growth of Australian-born businesses and enterprises. And I'm so proud, that you have made the effort to join us today. our fifth guest, who unfortunately is not in the show yet, but I'm sure that he's going to be able to tune in at some point. Oh yeah, I actually that's perfect timing. You just tuned in. Welcome.
Magic.
Welcome. I was actually just doing the introduction, and I know you are currently the Chief Research Officer from the American University in Sharjah, and previously you used to be the Chair Professor of Macau from 2008. You are tuning in from China at the moment, and so thank you very much. So we went in the preparation for this panel. We went through some of the questions which meant a lot to you, but also would mean a lot to the audience, because we are right now, and I've been looking at the chat, we are currently talking to over 25 countries already. And from what I remember from a previous summit that we organized, within 1 hour, I think we were broadcasting to 70 countries. And I think that is the enormous potential of these virtual summits these days, is that even though we would love to have been with all of you together in Sharjah today, when you're able to do something virtually, your personal space is more personal. However, your communication space is just out of this world. So I want to start with Galit first, with a question.
Sure.
How do you think that technology and the pandemic have changed how you experience your physical world?
For me, honestly, didn't change much because I'm used to actually work remotely and connect to people from all over the world. But I think what it made more evident is the connect and the disconnect between the digital world and the physical world. So the way that the digital world can expand our horizons, and there's a big but here, it's not the answer for everything. And I think what we're seeing now is really a reappreciation of how technology should serve us, but also reappreciation to the physical context, to meaningfulness, and living a simple life or a simpler life, and reflecting on the world around us. I think almost everyone that I know and spoke to has gone through this process, and yeah, it happened for me as well. But let's say I'm quite a reflective person on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you. So, Hugh, would you like to respond to this question? How do you think that technology and the pandemic have actually changed your experience of the physical world?
I think that's a lot because, everybody actually got in the same situation because of pandemic. It's, whole world, everybody actually have a common, experience at the time. But thanks to technology, we can actually control, the pandemic situation. Korea is one of the, most, dynamic city, like, initial pandemic happened after, China. And we actually strongly pursue the contact tracing for the people. We find people who, impacted, and then, segregate, isolate them. And then we did a lot of things by, technology. Because, we using, 5G network or, the 3G LTE network, we actually using the, even this is actually private data, but we can share. We share that data together. And then if someone's dropped by a restaurant and then he, impacted, then, our system actually automatically control, the trace, trajectory for him, and then who contact with them, and then what's his phone number, and then contact again. That these things happen right now. So I think that's number one thing that we can control pandemic situation because of technology. And second thing is like that this is situation. If without technology, what am I supposed to do? We can connect through the internet. Even we have a technical problem though. We can see each other. Even you are someone in Paris, someone in Amsterdam, someone in New York, someone in Korea, someone in actually France. what amazing things, because even we live in different cities, different planet, we can connect each other, and then we can talk to each other. So I think that's the power of the technology. And also I would like the emphasize on one keyword is that digital transformation. So in my personal opinion is that because Korea is strong desire to make a digital transformation whole society, manufacturing, and even business and everything, but it's not easy because people it's not easy to get used to technology, emerging technology, right? But because of pandemic, everybody get used to Zoom things, teleconferencing, email, and WeChat, everything. So I think technology is kind of good, the method for to overcome this situation. That's my personal experience.
Thank you. Wonderful. So, Dr. Wei Zhao, I would like to extend the same question to you, because I think it's interesting, because I think each one of you will actually have a different response to this. So how do you feel, and how do you think that technology in the pandemic has changed how you experience the physical world?
Well, certainly there's a big change. Honestly, I'm in Guangzhou now, and I can tell you 10 months ago, a businessman in China invited me to come to Guangzhou for a lunch. I only had one day. 10 months ago, I couldn't fly. I took a red light flight, come to Guangzhou, and went to the restaurant, have a lunch, and flew back to Dubai within 20 hours. However, this time, as you know, I'm currently in the same city. It took me 3 months to finish all the logistics. And at this moment, I'm still locked in the hotel. So the impact certainly has been big. However, as a previous speaker said, I think because technology, we still can keep things going. Especially, I'm from a university. Online teaching has been a topic hot for the last 20 years. However, both students, professors somehow resist it. They always think, oh, we cannot do that. We have to be physical. But now it's literally become known. Actually, in university, we're not talking about, even after the recovery, university perhaps will have to run in a mixed mode now, rather than be a pure physical classroom teaching. So we are thinking entire industry of education, especially higher education, and relevant business infrastructure all had to be changed to accommodate actually the new demand and actually the new benefits to everybody.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So, George, I would love to extend the same question to you, because I think it's absolutely interesting to hear your view on how do you think that technology and the pandemic has changed your experience in the physical world?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, for me, similar to GALIT, like I had my event in February, which was just before the pandemic sort of hit. 4 to 5 weeks just before, I did feel a bit of sort of shakedown because it was in the news. But like right after the event, I go into my self-isolation, if I can call it. And so that's a normal state for me. And so what was weird for me is that everyone was doing the same thing. So I was like, well, this is what I do. This is my thing. I do that to kind of like really, just forget about what I was doing for the past 6 to 8 months and kind of really get better and get more healthier and just really recover from the intensity of the festival sort of delivery. But it's only that this is still going on. This is not kind of stopping. And the problem is that as I sort of starting to emerge from my state and the way sort of do things after big event, you notice that the whole world is semi functioning. and everything is slowed down. If you want to really do something, it's very difficult. Companies are restructuring, pivoting, changing. Contacts that you had somewhere, they're gone, don't have jobs or moved on. And it's kind of like really forcing you to work so much harder to kind of really get somewhere, because all of those things are no longer there that you thought you had. So yeah, it's impacting on a lot of different sort of fronts, I suppose, and how you think about what's going to be possible in the future. Can you really anticipate what will be in the future? How do you then measure and plan something to deliver in the future if you don't know what's happening the next week and what the complications might be in the 3, 4, 5, 6 months or a year? So it's very, very kind of hard to predict things under this circumstance. And but yeah, I'm and as I kind of came out of my sort of cocooning, I'm just kind of been looking at what was going on and trying to really understand, try to get some patterns, and that was very difficult, and it still is somewhat difficult.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can I check for 1 second?
Yeah.
So, sorry to barge in, Sergio, but just a comment. So, George and I met in Australia, and then I flew back and went through the same thing. And while I was in Australia, we were talking about me staying in Toronto and writing a book called Yeapocalypse, the happy end of the world. And then COVID came. And I think this is something really bizarre, because even though I was mentally prepared to look at the dissemination of the world, seeing such large-scale processes happen actually kind of stopped me and made me reevaluate what I thought about, whatever social shift and social change is happening.
Yeah, I can imagine. And are you still writing that book? Are you still going to write that book?
I started again.
Good.
But I really stopped. I really had to stop for a few months because, I think it's very hard to try to go back to normal when you don't know what the future, what normal is already right now.
Well, I think that brings us to our fifth guest. And I think your business, your focus of business has been impacted incredibly. I mean, tourism. I would love to hear from you. I mean, how you think that the technology has impacted your personal space and physical space positively, negatively, and what have you changed?
Well, good morning, everyone. At least from Lisbon, it's a pleasure to be here. Well, COVID and the pandemic changed, I would say, totally my personal life. I'm a human contact person by nature. I'm a traveler, and I'm a teacher. So at the same time, COVID altered, I would say, several human processes, from the way you work, the way you travel, the way you go out, the way you go out with friends and have a dinner, the way you go to the gym. And I seriously believe that we are now in the middle of a transformation, because COVID was an accelerator of a lot of transformations. And I think we are just in the middle of it. And technology was proved its ability and its capability of really helping human society in several of these transformations that we've been pushing for in last years. Just working from home was one thing that we've been pushing. The education system was trying to test moving to hybrid classes and so on. So what COVID brought was the need of testing it without preparing the test. So basically accelerated everything. So now I believe we are in the middle of making the balance. Well, and also technology was able to maintain economy alive. That's one very important thing. So I think now we are in the middle of a process of, as we deal with COVID, we analyze which things of technology can continue to be in place. What are the transformations that we do in business models, in the way that we live, and we will get from, I would say, several next normals until we find, I would say, a new normal. That will be the way that we will engage with people. I hope that travel industry, because travel industry was locked down. That's, I would say, for 2 to 3 months, it was completely locked down with zero activity in a lot of places in the world. It's something that the human nature was evaluating more and more and more. Travel is not a luxury. Travel is something that we need to get out of this process. And I believe also in that, and that is my feeling, also COVID and all this process of being locked down will increase the need of having human experiences, increase of a need for traveling, new people, new cultures, and I think that's something that we will have to deal after COVID is gone.
Yes, I mean, I had actually been looking forward very much to the Web Summit, which I have been attending for many years. And we, with Women in Technology, always organize our Web Summit awards around it. And we honor amazing women, you know, who've really achieved amazing things within technology, but also on other levels, humanitarian, connected to the SDGs, whatever. Anyway, we also had to take it virtual this year, like the Web Summit has done. So I'm certain that's a big loss for the city. But what I've noticed is that, for example, we were talking about it in the talk before, is that Portugal did very well with handling the COVID-19, and therefore a lot of people that I've known who had plans to go to France or Spain have actually diverted their holiday travels to Portugal. So you must have been doing something right.
Yes, I think that was also this COVID changed a little bit the way that we live as a community, because the only way, and we put it that in our agenda, the only way of getting out of this is it's on the community. It's not a role of the private sector or the public sector, it's a role of the whole society. And I think we've had, and I'm connected to startups, and we looked at several movements from the society to jump in with solutions, how to deal with it. Just to give you an idea, we had one very interesting movement that we call Tech for COVID. It was a movement from the startup ecosystem that brought in several devices and several applications for us to deal with it. So we had an application that tells you, and the community could tell each other if supermarkets were full of people. We've done that also in beaches. So before you move to a certain beach, you would understand how the level of crowd was in that beach. So you could choose basically to go to a safer place. We've launched in our office. We've launched a stamp, which was Clean and Safe stamp, that we used in all tourist companies with contact with public. So basically working with the Ministry of Health, identifying which are safe measures for moving around in tourism places. And we had more than 30,000 people applying for it. So it was a community movement, I would say. And that was a huge change, because people, in the end of the day, they understood that they needed to work in community. You needed to work, and that's something that at the firm level sometimes it's not easy to work on. At the government level sometimes it's not easy to do it. But we finally understand, and it was a very interesting movement in terms of startups. I had startups from my ecosystem that sold more in these 3 months that they have sold in the last 3 years. So it's their environment, so it's good to work with them in this perspective.
No, because I mean, I can imagine, and I see that here. For example, I was saying in the Netherlands, they announced this week that we were now code red in Amsterdam and Rotterdam, and which meant that tourists coming from Germany, were actually advised not to come. So once you have that code in place, it has enormous impact for people visiting your country. So, I mean, Portugal must have been doing something right, because I'm noticing a lot of people who really are in need of holidays still going to Portugal, and they're not able to go to other countries. So I want to congratulate you on that as well.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk to you now a little bit more about like what you say, I mean, like the whole reliance on technology and online experience has really accelerated. I mean, I was listening to an interview with Yuval Noah Harari, you know, the Israeli professor, and he said he had been advising the Israeli government for 20 years to go online, and literally within 1 week, everything was possible, you know. And then, I mean, Harvard and MIT had all these online MOOCs for years, you know, and every time when you would talk to people like, oh no, we rather meet with people in person. Of course, it has enormous added value, and the energy of being in a space together is, you know, incredible. But what laws do each one of you think that technology now needs to have in place? Because I think privacy has become more and more important, because so much more of our information now is actually being transmitted. So what laws should be put in place for people to be more safe in a personal space? And I would like to start with Hugh on this.
Okay, so technology has, you know, either side, right? So the as you mentioned, technology is always in a good purpose, though sometimes it's not. So during this pandemic, actually we had a very important experience, because, you know, due to pandemic, every student can go, you know, school. So everybody, you know, actually, you know, stay at home and then study from, you know, the maybe probably using Zoom or whatever. But in Korea, we have a very strong education, you know, desired country. So people would like to learn from teacher, but it's not easy. So that's why, you know, 5 million students at the same time, you know, log into the same, you know, internet. And then at the time, it was crazy, because, you know, there are a lot, you know, technical issue like today. Everybody lost, you know, connectivity. Someone, you know, have a problem with the screen, whatever. But most important part is that we realize, you know, we have a very strong polarization, because, you know, because I'm kind of person who has a lot of, you know, gadget and, you know, kind of early adopter. I can buy anything. So I have a very good computer. I have a very, you know, high speed and broadband internet with me, and I have a very good cell phone. But we realize that there are so many students out there. They don't have any tablet. They don't have any, you know, broadband. They don't have any computer to connect to the, you know, internet for, you know, learning from school, whatever. So we realize more than, you know, 25% of students have a problem. So we try to, you know, fulfill, you know, recover how to make them, you know, give opportunity to log in internet, you know, same, you know, opportunity. So some governmental and actually activities that dissipate, you know, 100,000, you know, tablet to the, you know, little, you know, in low income, you know, student, whatever. And then SK, you know, KT is Korean, you know, carrier company. They actually voluntarily, you know, install the high speed internet for free for, you know, the people. So it's kind of, you know, the activity happening in the beginning, but it's not perfect yet. Still, you know, problem. There are a lot of people problem, because even with a good internet connectivity, learning, education is not only for technical, you know, perspective, quality and coaching from, you know, teacher and relationship, right? But, you know, rich people or who has a lot of, you know, affordable people, they can, you know, hire some, you know, private tutor, whatever. They can get a high quality education even under COVID pandemic situation. But other people, you know, don't have an opportunity. So I think even we have a strong technology, though, we still have another aspect of, you know, the welfare infrastructures and, you know, things we have to, you know, figure it out and then prepare for, you know, get through, you know, this situation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for mentioning this, because I do think that the pandemic has actually made more visible the digital divide also between the richer and the poorer countries, and also within the countries, the amount of connectivity. You know, we, of course, all take it as a given, you know, that we're always being able to be online and everything. But of course, there are lots of areas still in the world where children actually have no access to technology. And that's absolutely true. So Dr. Weizhou, what do you think? I mean, from the university perspective, which laws do you feel do we actually now need more to feel more safe in the personal space now that we're much more dependent on technology?
I'm a computer scientist by training. For me, at least for the IT industry, this is a huge opportunity. As the previous speaker already mentioned, first of all, we need to have a lot of equipment. Actually, in my university, I can tell you, my IT sector told me that all the professors had their laptop wear out, the mouse, the keyboard, because you never use computer in that heavy way. I can tell you, computer were not designed to be used like the way we're using today. So that replacing the whole products, I think that creates a huge opportunity, but that's only a very minor part. For me, we really need innovation in many other fronts. For example, you mentioned that privacy versus security. Okay, now we all have a meeting now, and if we always sit in a meeting room that we feel comfortable, we can talk. Now, how could we know nobody else next to my bedroom, somebody will be listening? However, yeah, you can put a lot of camera there, then my family will feel be included. So to balance the security, confidentiality versus the privacy become a big issue. And how to resolve this technically and honestly, politically, is an interesting dilemma. More than that, you people ever heard about smart home, smart city, many of those kind of smart things in my field we're raising and try to have more business. But those concepts today now need to be redefined. Okay, just as we just experienced this conference software, it's all the problems. And I believe in a few years, you'll see a much more robust, much more convenient, and much easier to use conference software will come up. Plus many other IT technology, I think just create a huge opportunity. Furthermore, beyond IT, as we say now, home is no longer home. Home is home and office. So for me, the entire the building industry perhaps also have a huge opportunity too. People perhaps want to have a bigger apartments, or relay the apartment in such a way that, as I say, you can respect both privacy and security. So I think this pandemic actually really bring all of us together. As I agree with several speakers mentioned, the technology and pandemic forces us to use technology connect us. However, technology need to be more mature to support this. Thank you.
Okay. George, would you like to reflect on this? Because I can imagine when you organize PausFest, I do not know, you have a theme each year, and do you also look for companies and speakers to present related to the theme? And with the startups, do you now feel that you're going to approach it, since it's also going to be virtual, but are you also going to content-wise approach PausFest maybe differently this year? And are you going to maybe talk more about these kind of issues as well?
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. Privacy is a privilege that you pay. If you want to have a privacy, you buy iPhone. If you are okay to not sort of care too much about and want a sort of cheaper options, there's other brands. But there's also very interesting series on Netflix, The Social Dilemma, which I think we are currently living. I'm okay for my information to be harvested, because everyone does that. It's always been like that. But it's what you do with that information. Do you sell it to someone else, or do you keep it for bettering your product and services? And I think we have to think very hard right now how we using and how we treating this information, this data. And I know Facebook is now introducing biometrics in VR, and it's going to tell you how you feel about when you're playing certain things. And we're just going to start to measure a lot of things. So how we do that, how we is there any laws around this? There isn't much at all, but is it ethical? We need to ask ourselves. So there's a lot of, I think, conversation that needs to happen in this space, what the companies are collecting, how they're using the data, and what you allow companies to use your data for. Do we have actually a say in this, or we can just sort of consent to it because we're getting the service that's for free, and that's what you pay with your privacy. So it's definitely a big topic, and we have had few sort of keynotes on it, but I think right now it's a big thing to talk about for sure.
Okay. So Galit, maybe you would like to share a little bit what's your personal take on this, and also I'd like to talk to all of you also about, I mean, a lot of the information that we put on technology and which is being reprocessed, it's their interpretation of that technology. And it's taken for 100% face value. And so you are being targeted with advertisements or with other things, even also Netflix, you know, based on what you've done before. But so you are very much into augmented reality. And could you maybe explain a little bit more? How do you think that technology can actually improve that?
Well, for me, this topic is quite simple and straightforward. And I think what COVID did is it did digitize our physical space, or brought a lot of digital technology and interactions into our personal space. But technologies like VR and especially augmented reality that is talking about a ubiquitous interaction, digital interaction layered within the physical space, is the ultimate space where really technology, physical and digital world are united and interactive with each other. And I've been talking about that a lot. And I think something we're realizing now with COVID, and something we need to realize much, much faster, is that technology is not this beast that exists somewhere else on the internet behind a screen. We're moving into connected spaces where we're moving into intersectional and high-level analytical capabilities that are not even by governments, but by corporation and private people. And, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, but the request or the demand, and the demand comes in several levels, the demand or our expectation even to hone our data is something that has been, let's say, robbed of us willingly because it was free. And that is something that in my mind is unacceptable because somebody is making a lot of money out of it without our consent a lot of the time, without our full understanding a lot of the time, and without repercussion most of the time. And it's a big matter of accountability. We have an accountability as users to understand better and be a bit more picky about what companies we choose to interact with or not. Facebook is one of the companies I'm really not scared to say what I think about them. They have been, you know, they have teams of behavioral psychologists and neuroscientists that all they want to do is get into your head, literally. And their entrance into the AR, VR, especially VR field is something that I'm very concerned about, because their money doesn't come from selling the product. Their money doesn't come from quality content. Their money comes from selling ads. They're an advertisement company. And it's the accountability of tech companies and any organization that integrates tech to do it ethically, because it's the right thing to do. And as I said, it's not elsewhere. And it's definitely the accountability of policymakers to step back into the game, figure out if they still want to have even fake governance, and start taking care of the citizens, because the world, we are in digital civilization now. This is it. where technological civilization, we cannot, for most of us, we cannot take ourselves off the grid and still function in society. This is a common, I have the right for privacy first and then everything else later. And I think this is something we really have to put our foot down, you know, for ourselves, for our kids, for our parents, and for our society, because we're running towards this future where data is, you know, data, we just share and trade data. We don't know what it means, but there are people that do, and they have way too much power. Sorry.
I know, I think it's very good. I always like it when a woman says what she feels and what she thinks. I know, Dr. Weizao, that you need to leave this panel in 5 minutes, so I want to actually ask the last question to you now, because I would like to hear from you. What has been your biggest personal challenge during these last 6 months? And how do you think that the notion of empathy has changed because and with and through technology?
Well, the biggest challenge, honestly, is not only one. However, as I said, I'm a chief research officer. Right in front of my line, the biggest challenge has been my researchers cannot get into the lab. So that's a very small problem because that's a different, you know, physical experiments. When you do MRI, those kind of things, you cannot do virtual online. So that part, actually, in my view, this means the equipment is nothing wrong with us. Okay, if Mother Nature told us we had to be separate, then we had to be separate. Then we need the technology, we need a better machine which can automatically perform experiments remotely rather than physically be there. Certainly now you have a robot, those kind of things. So for me, the big challenge is how can we do physical experiments, not only just online teaching, online meeting, or online social, in the lab space without human presence. For me, again, this would be the changing for science and education industry dramatically. Think about it, if you take chemistry 101, yeah, you can do online, do some emulation, but physically, you really want a student to observe, smell, he put two different chemicals together, right? I think it'd be more economical if the experiment being done remotely and the student just operate on a computer to do that. So kind of connected, virtually connected physical laboratory is the biggest challenge in my domain. We talk to VP for research across globe, everybody have the same view. Thank you.
Okay. Hugh, what has been your biggest personal challenge? And when you think of empathy, do you have the feeling that technology allows us to really connect with the other people that you're talking to, you know, whether it's through a panel like this or whether it's through your students or with your friends and family?
Yep. Actually, a lot. Everybody, like everybody else, you know, a lot of things change it, you know, for my, you know, personal things. Most important part is that I, you know, frequently, you know, give my, you know, talk and speech to the, you know, executive people, to the corporate, but every, you know, talk and speech is actually canceled because of COVID-19. And then also my project actually, I collaborate with the Sunshine China. I made a, you know, prototyping platform with Sunshine China, but I have to, you know, travel a lot in China, Korea, and other countries like that. But this project actually, you know, postponed because, you know, I cannot go, you know, China now. So many things actually changed. Even Burning Man, I kind of, you know, Burners, you know, frequently go to Burning Man, participate in Burning Man. Yeah.
Burning Man, yeah.
Yeah, but this year Burning Man also, you know, canceled. So I went to the digital, you know, VR type of, you know, playa though. It's not, you know, same, you know, experience like, you know, physical, you know, things like that. So I think there are so many things change because of COVID, because COVID, compulsorily ask us, doing something differently, we did like that before. So even this kind of, situation though, we actually try to find out other alternative solution like this way. So maybe without COVID-19, probably we can meet each other in person in just a small conference room together. And then probably after this conference, we can go, get a, drink party, whatever. But now we are just, connect through the internet, and then we can see the face each other. And then after this, conference, we go and then it's a kind of different kind of relationship as like physical things. So even though this type of things happening surrounding me, I think that's very important opportunity, because everybody believe, not everybody actually, many people actually believe that we face to this kind of changes maybe in a decade or in a couple of decades later. But now everybody actually, do same experience like that. So probably it's, intensive time of, experience though. I think that is kind of, very important momentum we can, try to find out, better future for us, not for us, for everyone. So that's my, feelings, and that's my actually, the lessons from, COVID-19.
Okay. Sergio, would you like to elaborate on this? You were saying already in the beginning that actually COVID-19 does not really connect with your personal innate personality, but would you like to share with us what has been your biggest personal challenge?
Well,
and how do you...
I am CARINE, I'm a 100% techie person, and so I'm very connected to technology, and I'm a passionate for technology, but I always put technology as an enabler of improving quality of life of people. So people, for me, it's in the first place. And I would say the first big challenge that I had was to manage uncertainty with people. That means with families, with colleagues, with friends, with people that I work with. How can we improve the level of uncertainty that we needed to cope with? So a lot of questions, more questions than answers. So that was not an easy period, but I think it went okay, because most of the people were quite positive on this. But actually, from my point of view, and from my point of view of working, it was the first time in my life that I actually had to lead with catastrophe, because my industry in my country was passing a catastrophe. That was something that you imagine when you see movies or when you think about 9/11. Now you're there, so you're in the middle of it. So working like crazy with no times of work, with a little bit chaotic, helping. I would say 3 lines of work. First one. Helping companies to survive, to find solutions, to find financing solutions for maintaining them alive and maintaining thousands of jobs is something that weighs on your shoulders sometimes. The second point is understanding where we are, because the level that is connected with managing data, because this was a period of thousands of data every day, and there is a time that you don't know where to rely or not rely. Where are we going? If you're searching the internet trends post-COVID, you see thousands of posts. Are they true? Are they not true? And that's one thing that we have also to deal with technology and connect it to laws, because technology allows everything. So you need to work a little bit more on being the right person advising who your clients are, to advise them what's the right data to take the right decisions, how to measure where we are. And that's all I think.
Okay. George, would you like to reflect on what has been your biggest personal challenge? I just heard from John, we have 5 more minutes, and I've asked him to extend a little because I would like to hear your and Galit's personal experiences. So please.
Well, look, I mean, I really love, there's definitely a lot of things surfaced up because of COVID. That's all this sort of social unrest in the world, and how we deal with things and how we deal with certain aspects. And but there's also a lot of good that has surfaced, and people wanting to help other people. And there's a bunch of interesting examples. It looks like Sergio's got quite a few in his sort of tourism industry that he mentioned earlier. But, you know, people wanted to help, you know, create ventilators. They wanted to, you know, hack some other sort of issues and problems and tracing. And so these are kind of things that I think, you know, when you feel for others in hard situations like this, and also governments, wherever they could, they tried to sort of help out. It didn't quite work everywhere, but it's how do you help others? I think this kind of something for me that stands out from this pandemic amongst everything else. So those are the bright, shiny sort of things that kind of help you kind of think that, you know, it's kind of feels like a doom, the end of the world, but there's some people out there that are still kind of positive and thinking about helping, and it's really good and makes you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, Galit, what has been your biggest personal challenge?
Well, my biggest personal challenge is to actually wait till it finishes. It somehow feels there's more work, there's more interaction, there's more overload, and things actually are coming despite the difficulties. So it's very hard to be, you know, a person that is super energetic and outdoor and people's person, and to have to sit back physically, you know, physically and mentally. But I am very positive about what will come after that. I think there was a reference here to Mother Nature teaching us it's not Mother Nature, it is us that inflicted this. It is us that can fix it. And I think we will in one way or another. I just hope that the path there will be more unified with real social understanding and communities that coming out of it. And they are starting to come out of it, and with a new appreciation to the physical. I actually believe in physical transformation that will come after this period, because I've never seen so much baking in my life. And I think it's a lesson that we're learning, whether we have to or want to, we're learning it. And I really, really hope that we'll come out of it with the right conclusions and kind of re-steer, you know, what all of this is about in the screen and beyond it.
Right. Well, I mean, I personally think that COVID-19 has shown so much more empathy. I've seen things of people, both business-wise and personal-wise, that I had not seen before. I've had much more interaction with people, also business-wise. I've gotten to know much more, a lot of the startups that I support or that I raise money for. I mean, I've actually gotten to know much more because I feel people have actually taken more time to sit down and to figure and to actually explore within themselves why they want to start this company or why they want to do this. And I think innovation side, and I'm looking to Sergio, I think, and I know Lisbon has an enormous startup industry. I think business-wise, I think the world is going to be seeing things post-COVID-19, which I think is going to serve all of us. I'm very much looking forward to hopefully meeting all of you in person, hopefully maybe next year in September, because I have understood that this is going to be an annual event, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to participate. I want to thank all of you for your energy, for your time. I want to wish you well also within the next, I think we're going to be in this together at least until next summer if we need to follow the press. I think we will all realize that I think people have become more conscious of what they put on social media and everything. I think that's what people have realized now as well. I think maybe, and I think, Galit, you were right. It was so easy for all of us, just to share everything. And I think now people realize, oh my God, I should just only share the things that I really want the world to know about me, because, otherwise some some avatar is going to be created about me, which I actually am not. So, and I think we will all value.
Am I?
Yeah. Exactly. And I think people now value even more what friendship really means. I think a lot of time, I mean, I do not know about you, but I remember the first month when I was in lockdown, I really felt the urge to like connect with people that I hadn't connected with for a long time, even though they were very, very deep into my heart. Just that I was so busy living life. And that was actually one thing that I had wanted to ask all of you as well, is that do you feel that you've actually become much more productive? But because you have less time to move around, I mean, you can now have 10 Zoom meetings in a day, whereas you used to maybe have 1 or 2 meetings a day. So I think
busier or more productive?
Sorry?
Busier or more productive? So I feel busier, and I actually have to fight to carve out time to be space, to be productive or creative. This is actually something that is difficult, and I have now 2 days that no digital meetings, not even 15 minutes, none, detox, because it starts, today I started 6 a.m. and finished, it's 4 a.m. now, and that's because it's easy to access, right? So you really have to now carve yourself the non-digital space as a holy space.
Okay. It feels like after 5 or 6 p.m. it's the time to be productive, because all the time during the day you're in Zooms and you just can't do anything.
Well, that was actually a question that I had for all of you outside this list. But did you feel that you had a weekend? Did you actually officially announce on Friday? At least that's what I did. At 5 p.m. or 6, I would say, okay, it's weekend now. Did you also do that for yourself?
I've started doing that because there was a period that everyone called everyone at whatever time. So it didn't matter. So I think that was my wording when I'm saying now we're going to a second level, which is defining boundaries.
Yeah, your personal space and your business space. Exactly. Well, I hope the audience out there, and I want to thank everybody for staying with us. I want to wish you a wonderful day. This was the opening panel, and we spoke about how the pandemic has impacted our personal space and how technology has improved it and how it has actually forced us to set our boundaries. I want to thank Galit. I want to thank Sergio. I want to thank George. I want to thank you. And I want to thank Dr. Wei. And speak soon.
You too.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.